In a wooded parkland in the northwest corner of Canton, Ohio, off Interstate 77, stands a memorial to America's most exciting sport, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This nationally acclaimed museum is situated not far from the site where the National Football League was founded in 1920 and where the Canton Bulldogs were crowned the NFL champions in 1922 and 23. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is filled with dynamic and entertaining exhibitions that recapture every phase of pro football's almost 100-year-old history and at the same time pay homage to the great players, coaches, and contributors who have been accorded membership into the Hall. Each year, a new class is inducted, giving them a permanent place in the game's history. Such was the case on August 5th of 1989 when 4 new members were officially presented. If you were there, it will be an emotional reminder of that occasion. If you were not, the experience here may prompt you to visit the museum and its annual induction ceremony at some future date. Bringing the total membership in the Hall of Fame to 148 are cornerback with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mel Blount. Quarterback with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Terry Bradshaw. Tackle with the Oakland Raiders, now Los Angeles Raiders, Art Shell. Safety with the Green Bay Packers, Willie Wood. Good morning. We welcome you, those of you listening at home and the thousands of you gathered here at the Hall of Fame. Just a few minutes, we will be enshrining 4 more greats from the gridiron in this, our 27th annual enshrinement ceremony. To greet this year's class of enshrinees as they are introduced, Pete Rozelle, the Commissioner of the National Football League, and Stu Wilkins, the Chairman of the Board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Board of Trustees. And now, to the 4 enshrinees for this year, presented in alphabetical order. First, selected in the 1970 draft, he played 14 seasons with the Steelers. Jack Ham, who was inducted last year, called this man the most incredible athlete that Ham had ever seen. In 1975, the AP named him the NFL's most valuable defensive player. He played in 5 Pro Bowls. He was a superb man-on-man defender. Some say he was the best cornerback to ever play the game. He played on 4 Super Bowl champions. Here is Mel Blount. This man was the first player taken in the 1970 draft. He also played 14 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And during his reign, the Steelers won 8 AFC Central Division championships and 4 Super Bowls. He was the MVP in Super Bowls 13 and 14. He holds records for postseason games, Super Bowl records. Threw for nearly 28,000 yards. Here's Terry Bradshaw. Your next inductee had size, agility, brains, pride, dignity, and strength. He was all AFC 6 straight years, played in 8 Pro Bowls. He was a major part in helping his team to 8 AFL, AFC title games, and victories in Super Bowls 11 and 15. He played on Raider teams that had very good offensive linemen. He was said to be the most outstanding of them all. A warm, big welcome for Art Shell. Gave this man a tryout, and the rest is history. He won all NFL honors 7 times, played in 8 Pro Bowls, 6 NFL championship games with the Pack, and he also has experienced the thrill of winning that Super Bowl. He's here because he was one of the premier free safeties of the NFL during his 12-year career. Here is Willie Wood. Ladies and gentlemen, now to honor this great country of ours, please join with John Hayward as he comes forward and sings our national anthem. John?
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
To give all of you a big welcome from the city of Canton, here's the mayor of this city, Sam Persis.
Keep it sharp, man. Keep it sharp.
Good morning, Football America. And it's been the case over the last couple of years. The city of Canton is proud to welcome the city of Pittsburgh. This is the moment that makes this football's most hallowed weekend. 4 great football players reaching the pinnacle of their greatness here in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame. And we are here to share that moment.
Everybody listens to Terry. Bradshaw says keep it short. What I'm going to do now probably will never be done again. He likely wishes someone else had the job now. At enshrinement time next year, someone will. But for now, he is still the commissioner of the National Football League. I did not introduce him earlier because I knew he was going to come up here. He is a member. He's been inducted right here in this Hall of Fame. He was the commissioner when this Hall of Fame started. He's been the only commissioner this shrine has known. He's been a great supporter. He's been a great friend. So let's give a big, warm welcome to Pete Rozelle.
Well, you met the four we're putting in this year, these four gentlemen right here. When you think of the tens of thousands of players that played professional football, you have to realize that they are very special, and they deserve to be put in this very special place. You know, this weekend I was thinking back over the years. I remember when the league voted to approve Canton as a site of the Hall of Fame. I remember a day in 1962. It was August 11th, and I was here to have the privilege of turning the first shovel of dirt, the groundbreaking for this Hall of Fame. It was a great occasion. I had a man helping me named Harry Struldreher. Now, he was one of Notre Dame's four horsemen, courtesy of the writer Grantland Rice. Truly a great football player, one of the greatest of all time. Well, Harry helped me that first shovel of dirt, and we were started. Then in September 7th, the very next year, I was back again to celebrate the opening of this facility, of this original facility. And it's been a very, very special thing for me. Perhaps the most special time that I was here was in 1985. That's when I had the true honor and privilege, a very warm moment for me, for my family and friends, of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I only had one reservation. I would have been kind of pleased to have gone with a more prestigious class. I went in with O.J. Simpson, Broadway Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, and Frank Gatsky. Now we're up to 1989, and this is my farewell appearance as commissioner of the NFL, I think, and causes me to look back over the years. And I think of all the things I've experienced as commissioner, this is probably the warmest and the most meaningful, Canton, Ohio. It's tremendous. Each year coming here and seeing this wonderful building, the treasury for all the tradition and history of the National Football League. But really it's the people of Greater Akron and Canton that really make it. They make it football's greatest weekend. It's been a very big part of my life. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to coming back. Thank you very much for everything.
Here in the city of Canton, we go from Sunday to Sunday with festivities. But right now, this is what this weekend is all about. Dan Rooney has served as president of the Pittsburgh Steelers since 1975. Today, he's recognized as one of the NFL's leading executives, and Dan will present one of the Steelers' all-time greats, Mel Blount, for enshrinement. Here's Dan Rooney.
This is really a great day. Even the Lord is shining on us. My father really would have loved it. Be here with Mel and Terry, enjoy the laughs, the fun, the Steelers of the 70s, the best. They were dedicated and enjoyed themselves. They loved the game. They all deserve to be here in Canton. Their accomplishment is unmatched. Repeating and then winning 4 Super Bowls, or winning back-to-back Super Bowls, is rare. Winning 4 in 6 years is unbelievable. It was the character of the men on those teams that was unique. Special people, dedicated, committed to purpose, to victory, to be the best. I want to congratulate Terry Bradshaw, the most successful quarterback that ever played the game. And a Steeler. Art Shell, a great competitor. and a Raider. And Willie Wood, who we all marveled at his abilities with the Packers of the 60s. It is a special honor for me to present one of the outstanding people ever to play in the National Football League. A person who has remarkable accomplishments off the field as well as on, dedicated to helping young people in difficulties by giving them a home, an inspiration to all, young and old, businessmen and athletes, giving guidance to NFL players today. But it is for his on-the-field activities that bring us to Canton. After being drafted third by the Steelers in 1970 from Southern University, he went on to intercept 57 passes, recover 13 fumbles in 14 seasons. He played in 200 regular season games and play on 4 winning Super Bowls. A member of the team of the decade, the 70s. He went to the Pro Bowl 5 times, was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1975. And even more spectacular, you all heard of Amos Alonzo Stagg. He was the great coach who the rules were written to stop in the early beginning. Well, Mel changed the rules in the NFL. He was so big and tough that they changed the bump and run rule to stop Mel from dominating receivers. His appearance is dominating, as you can see. But even with the new rules, he continued to defend his corner as no one else. Scouts say they don't even look for corners like him anymore because you don't get corners with his size or his speed or who can jump like him. One time my brother was working out a hotshot prospect who had a great vertical jump. Mel wandered through the stadium hall, and as the kid was touching so high to make a mark, and he bragged that that was the top mark. Mel, in his street clothes, jumped, marking a higher spot, and when he landed, he said to the kid, "That is the Steeler mark." And he has made many Steeler marks falling. It is truly a pleasure to present for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame one of the greatest players of all time and a man of character, Mel Blount.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, what a great weekend this has been. It's an awful long way from the cotton fields and tobacco fields of Vidalia, Georgia, to the Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio. I want to say that I'm a very lucky man because I've had an opportunity to play for the greatest honor, play in front of the greatest fans, and to play with some of the greatest athletes known to the history of the NFL. And when I retired, as luck would have it, I was blessed again to go to work for the commissioner of the National Football League. And I want to take a few minutes to thank the commissioner for all the great things that he's done for the National Football League. And I want to thank him for giving me an opportunity to remain involved with the NFL, one of the greatest institutions in this country, to be involved and to work with the fine staff that he has there in New York. And I just want him to know that all of us who love football want to thank you, Commissioner, for making football what it is, giving us an opportunity to play and make a living. And football will continue, but it won't ever be the same without Commissioner Pete Rozelle. It's also a great honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with not just great athletes, but great individuals, men of great character. And I want to tell all of you that I am so honored to be enshrined in a fraternity that very few men will ever get to be a part of. This is a great honor. It's a great opportunity for my family and young people across the country to see exactly what can happen when you're willing to pay a price and when you're willing to make a commitment and when you're willing to give it all that you have. If anybody, if the odds were against anybody, they were against me. Being the youngest of 11 kids, growing up on a farm in Georgia, a family who lived and prayed and hoped that they could feed 11 kids off the land. And out of 11 kids, 7 of us was able to go to college because we had the kind of parents that America is thirsty for today. Parents who are committed, parents who want to see and will instill in their kids that they strive to be the best. We have too many young people. We have too many young people in this country who are drug addicts. We have too many young people who are too lazy to work. If there's anything that we can do as professional athletes, we must give our time, we must give our service to our young people and let them understand that they can make it, and we need them because they are the greatest resources that this country have, our young people. A lot of my colleagues said, Mel, you'll get up here and you'll break down. But I've cried enough. I've struggled enough because there is a struggle that you will pay for anything that you accomplish. To me, this is an opportunity to get up and say exactly what we represent in this country as athletes. What we've done on the football field is history. What we will do from this stage on is yet to be seen. What I'm trying to do with the Mel Blount Youth Home is set up a place where kids who are less fortunate can have a place to come. Kids who've gotten in trouble for whatever reason will have a place to come and get that second chance, which we all have had to have at some point in our lives. And we've been able to do that down in Vidalia, Georgia. We got a good program, a successful program, and the idea was to expand, to move to another area. Pittsburgh, of course, is the most logical place to go because of your service and because of the price that you've paid and the commitment that you've had and the way that you've helped turn a city around. But there's a community right outside of Pittsburgh that I want all of you to know about today. Buffalo Township in Washington County. The supervisors and the township out in that community, for whatever reason, with their racist attitudes, with their narrow-mindedness, cannot see exactly what it is about to really try to reach out and help our young people. We don't need people in public office who is holding people back. The Mel Blount Youth Home is going up in Buffalo Township. We will make it work. The community will be proud of it. And I can tell you this, it will be an asset to that community, and it will be an asset to our young people in this country, because you don't realize the number of young kids that are incarcerated for whatever reason and who are good kids but just need a second chance. So I want to say out to all of you here today that the Hall of Fame, the National Football League, the Super Bowls, all of those things are something that I cherish more than anything, with the exception of my family. I came from a beautiful family, a family that struggled in the Deep South and instilled in their kids that you can do anything that you want to do if you're willing to pay a price. And you can be as good, and you are just as good. And it doesn't matter where you come from. It's where you're going. That is what makes the difference between failure and success. To my lovely daughter, Chantel, I say to you, I love you. To my beautiful daughter, Tanisha, I love you. And to my son, who is with the Atlanta Falcons, I wish you the best, because it's a great opportunity for you to make a living and to be a part of a great institution like the National Football League. To all of you, to the fans who have been so great, to the business people in Pittsburgh, to the Rooneys, all of you, I love you very much. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Vern Lundquist has enjoyed an illustrious career in sports broadcasting. One of his highlight assignments is his current one as a play-by-play announcer on CBS TV's NFL Network telecast. Vern's telecasting partner, Terry Bradshaw, whom he will present for enshrinement. Here is Vern Lundquist.
Thank you very much. Just last Monday night in my home in Colorado, I was chatting with a close friend about the events that are coming up this weekend. He's a retired Air Force pilot, a historian, and a member of the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame because of his All-American days as a lineman at West Point, so I value his insight. We talked a little bit about the specific events of this morning, of how this honor will be the single highest honor that can be paid each of these four men. But we talked in more general terms about the role of sport in our societies throughout the ages, of how from the time of recorded civilization, those civilizations have venerated their athletes. The Greeks, the Romans, multitude of nations since then, including us. We do so, my friend said, and his name is Robin Olds, we do so because those who have accomplished in sport have the potential to give us a higher plane. They can provide a mirror so that we can see what we can become. They do that especially when in the quest of their athletic accomplishment, we glimpse their humanity. We see them prevail, but we also see them stumble and fall. We relish their joy because we recognize their pain. Ultimately, the best overcome. And the best of the best we put in the Hall of Fame. Terry Bradshaw is being honored today for the totality of his accomplishments in 14 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do want to touch on them for just a moment. His football career can be summarized numerically and rather easily. Four Super Bowls won in 6 years. No other quarterback who ever played the game can ever make that claim. Two things we all remember well about Terry. He was instinctive. He called his own plays, for heaven's sake. And he could heave it. The boy could heave it a long, long way. For Terry, only one statistic was important. He would ask at the end of 4 quarters, who won? When I think of Terry's approach to the game, I'm reminded of a story of former baseball manager Bobby Bragan's complaint about statistics people. According to the percentage freaks, Bragan said, if you have 1 foot in a bucket of ice and the other foot in a hot campfire, you ought to be perfectly comfortable. Terry shared Bregan's contempt. It's more than fitting that a new book on Terry's life is called Looking Deep. It's how he approached the game of football, and it is how he continues to approach everything he deems important in his life now. And for just a couple of moments, that's the man I'd like to talk about. To those of us who know him well, it's no surprise that Terry has become a successful broadcaster. To those of us who know him well, it's no surprise that it was not easy. There were early pitfalls, but in television, as he did in football, he became a success with talent, a strong work ethic, and an almost eerily intuitive feeling of doing the right thing. To those of us who know him well, it is no surprise that Terry Bradshaw has now found a joy, a peace, and a serenity in a wonderful marriage. No surprise, because we know how terribly important marriage and family are to him. And no, it did not come easy. But in his beautiful wife, Charla, his wife of 3.5 years, he has found his partner for life and the mother of his children, tiny Rachel, who is now 2, and little Aaron, who is 5 weeks old. And if you thought you saw an exuberance in his walk and a joy in his smile after any of those 4 Super Bowl wins, I wish you could have seen the bliss on his face and the radiance in his eyes when each of his little girls was born. He's a man of abiding faith, a man whose faith manifests itself in simple acts of good works for family, for friends, for others. Whether it's as basic as a late-night phone call just to pick you up, or as magnanimous as the anonymous donation of the gift of a bunch of bicycles for underprivileged kids, you can count on Terry Bradshaw. For 2 decades now, he has lived his life in public. We have known of his triumphs and we have known of his tragedies. For 20 years, we have glimpsed his humanity. We have seen him prevail. There is, I believe, ingrained in each of us a small, fervent hope that we will be remembered after we're gone. That somehow those who come years from now will know that we were here, that we lived, that we loved, that we laughed, that somehow we mattered. For most of us, that desire is very fervent, but the dream is highly improbable. But for Terry Bradshaw, today that dream becomes a reality. Generations unborn today will come to Canton years from now. They will hear his voice, they will see his face, they will watch his exploits. And no doubt they will say then, as we do today, we whose memories are more fresh and fervent, boy, wasn't he something. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and deep privilege to present for enshrinement in the Pro Football Hall of Fame my partner, my dear, dear friend, Mr. Terry Bradshaw.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Believe it or not, I have missed that. I can't begin to use the words to describe the emotions that all of us have felt, me in particular, in coming to Canton, Ohio and being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I can't find the words to thank Pete Elliott enough. I know he spent the $50,000 I sent him to make sure I got in here. When I got the phone call, those of you that know me know I'm not a man that hides his emotions well. I went nuts. I went crazy, which I already am anyway. I jumped around. I ran around the house, outside. I just lost it for 3 days. I said, I can't believe this. And then I stopped and I said, what does it mean? What does all of this mean? It means that, yeah, you're one of the best that ever played. And I said, no, wait just a second. Wait just a second. What it means is that in football, you never get anything that you don't share it with people. You don't get elected into the Hall of Fame by yourself. Thank you, number 88, Lynn Swan. Thank you, number 82, John Stallworth. Thank you, Franco Harris. Thank you, Rocky Blyer. What I wouldn't give right now to put my hands under Mike Webster's butt just one more time. Thank you, Mike. Sam Davis, left guard. I love you. Thank you, Sam. Moon, who never knew he played in the National Football League. Thank you, Moon. John Cowboy Cobe, my left tackle. Larry Big Boss Brown, my right tackle. And two of the finest tight ends that I've ever had more fun playing with. One, Big Baby Huey, Benny Cunningham. I love you, thank you. And Randy Grossman, the greatest set of hands a tight end ever had. Thank you. Folks, Jim Smith, Calvin Sweeney, Theo Bell, I can go on and on. Every one of them. Rocky Blyer. It takes people to get anything done. We didn't get in here by ourselves. Hey, folks, I went to my dad in 1955. I said, Pop, I'm going to go play in the National Football League. I was 7 years old. We lived in Comanche, Iowa. He said, that's right, son. Move on. So I did, and I got a ball. He gave me a Sears and Roebuck ball, and I learned how to throw that sucker. He says, it's got to last a year, and it got real big. I took his clothes hanger and threaded my shoestrings through it to hold it together. That's commitment, isn't it? That's what it takes. That's what Mel was talking about. I wanted it so bad, not to get in the hall, but just to get in the National Football League. We moved back to Shreveport, Louisiana. I tried out at Oak Terrace Junior High School. Failed. Tried out again. Failed. Went to Woodlawn High School and played for the greatest high school coach in the history of sports there, Lee Hedges. He taught me how to play quarterback. Lee Hedges. I went out to a small school. People say, why'd you go to a small school? Let me tell you why. Let's get it out on the records. I failed the ACT test. Best thing ever happened to Tech was me failing the ACT test. And signed with this little school. I was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1970. Now, folks, we didn't have a love affair when it started. Y'all called me Ozark Ike because I was big and white and dumb acting. Said I was Little Abner. Said I couldn't spell cat. Well, y'all didn't, but some fool down in Dallas did. And I never understood what you wanted from me. Because all I thought was, hey, we're supposed to win. Isn't that what we're supposed to do up here, just win? We're supposed to win. If he's open, what do you do with the ball? Throw it, Terry. If he's covered, what do? Throw that sucker. Get rid of it. You're going to get hit. My nature was attack. Throw it deep. Anybody can throw wide. Let's go deep. You got to play in the huddle. Swan, let's throw a hook. John said, Brad, I got him on a deep curl. 50 yards. Throw it deep. Let's go deep. Intercepted. Oh, God. Wasn't it fun? Didn't y'all like seeing that stuff fly down there? I mean, it was fun. What a ride. What a ride. We did those winning because that's what we were bred to. We, the Steelers, all my boys, all of them, we love to win. God, we love to win. You know what? I want every one of you loving me. I want you clapping for me. I don't want you booing me. And when we won, you clapped. But it takes people. All our careers, we were blessed with great people around me. I'm a fortunate quarterback to have so much beautiful talent, so many wonderful athletes to go out and get the job, and it allowed me to be the kind of person I was, to go out and be aggressive and to attack and have fun and to lie and to tell jokes and to cut up with the reporters who still hadn't figured me out yet. That was fun. I enjoyed that. I got a kick out of that. But folks, when it's all said and done and the crowd finally goes home and we're left with our thoughts, we sit back and we say, it's people who we share it with. I got my mom and dad and my brothers are here. Well, one of them is. But that's what it's all about. Awards aren't worth a... I saved a lot of stuff by not having a lot of hair for this thing right over here. But folks, I'm so proud of that thing, as ugly as that sucker is. I'm so proud of it. But it's not worth a hill of beans if I don't have people that love me. To share it with. To my wife, Charla. My kids. God, this has just been great. Art Rooney. Boy, I love that man. I know you're watching, Art. I love you. You are always by me. I love you so much. Thank you. Pittsburgh, hey, I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Al Davis is the managing general partner of the Los Angeles Raiders, and he brought Art Shell into pro football in 1968. He's here today to present Art for enshrinement. And Al's presentation today will mark a record 7th time he has filled this important role as a presenter, and here is Al Davis.
Just about a year ago at this time, I had the opportunity to introduce one of the great Raiders into the National Football League Hall of Fame. And at that time, there was a large crowd here from Pittsburgh that I thought was acting quite unruly. And I told them at that time that if they didn't show a little bit more class, I'd move this Hall of Fame to the West Coast. But I'll tell you what they did to me. They moved it to Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. You know, it's a funny thing. I think the only time the Raiders lost in Pittsburgh was the Immaculate Reception. And we haven't seen Frenchie Fuqua since after that game. When they talk about the great decades of the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, I'm reminded that on this platform, when I see the great Willie Wood, that Packers was certainly the team of the 60s. And when I see Mel Blount and the incomparable Terry Bradshaw, no one can deny that the decade of the 70s belonged to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, with one more year to go, the San Francisco 49ers hold 3 Super Bowls to the Raiders and Redskins 2, so they certainly are the team of the decade of the 80s. But the team that had the best record in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s were the Raiders of Oakland and Los Angeles. The only team to play in the Super Bowl in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s were the Raiders again of Oakland and Los Angeles. But more important, 2 players for the Raiders played in all 3 decades. One is number 63, the legendary Hall of Famer Gene Upshaw at left guard, and the magnificent Art Shell, number 78 at left tackle. They were truly a famed highway. Art Shell played Goliath to Gene Upshaw's Atlas, and together over 3 decades, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they gave the Silver and Black the most awesome tandem of offensive linemen to ever grace the game. An unbelievable continuity of durability and excellence for 14 years. The quarterbacks during these 3 decades were names like Flores, LaMonica, the legendary George Blanda, Stabler, and Jim Plunkett. But there were constants. There was one left tackle in all 3 decades. His name was Art Shell. Art Shell had so many great games, but one stands out as the epitome of an offensive lineman's challenge. On January 9, 1977, in Super Bowl 11, when the Raiders won the World Championship of Professional Football, Art Shell played a perfect game for a left tackle against the famed and respected Purple People Eaters defensive line of the NFC champion Minnesota Vikings. Art Shell's opponents were completely shut out, no tackles, no assists, no quarterback sacks, total domination. It's a great inspiration to come to our field of dreams every year and conjure up the glory of the past and renew our resolve to dream together and to work together. Maybe we cannot get those mythological heroes to come out of the mist and perform once again for us, but what we can do is crystallize them in our minds, recount moments they gave us, immortalize them in the field of dreams that we call the National Football League Hall of Fame. Through all the autumns and winters of the past 3 decades, the Silver and Black has been blessed in many ways. I know that everyone who saw the Raiders battle to the top in those early years has much to remember. All those electrifying victories and heroic deeds, and especially of Art Shell, but one particular flashback that shows the true character of the man that I'll never forget. The Raiders, as a wild card team, had battled to play the San Diego Chargers in the championship game in 1981 in San Diego, California. It would be electrifying. After a light practice on Saturday before the game, the coaches left the field, but I, the owner, as the observer, watched as our team knelt in a circle in the center of the field, and those two famed giants, Upshaw and Shell, standing in the middle of the team. And it was Art Shell, who was usually the quiet one, lecturing to our team about the importance of the game and the greatness of the Raiders. It was more amazing because he had the toughest assignment in the whole game the next day. He had to play against the defensive end, the brilliant Fred Dean of the Chargers. With 7 minutes to go in the game, the Raiders led by 6 and had the ball. The crowd was in an uproar, imploring the Chargers to get the ball back because, as you know, they were an explosive and dynamic team. But the Raiders drove on the ground for 7 minutes and controlled the ball and won that game. And most of the work was done over that left tackle, number 78, Arthur Shell, and on to New Orleans, where we were the only wild card team to ever win the Super Bowl. You know, it's rare in our society, in our football culture, where the will to win is so great and we have the glamorous stars, that we look into the trenches for greatness, where the real battle is always being fought, where the gladiators live, where the Art Shells put their hearts and bodies on the line, where anonymity is the rule and pain is the legal tender. These fellas, the Art Shells, are the magnificent blue-collar warriors of football. Their arms encrusted with dried mud and bloody bandages, their huge bodies bulging out of their dirtied armor, and he had a huge body, their heads encased in terrifying helmets and cages. To the organization, to the Raider organization, they were the heart and soul of the team, the people who bleed for you, the people who win for you. Art Shell played when he was healthy, when he was hurt, in the good times and the bad. He was a fierce combat warrior. He was a star among stars, and with all the Super Bowls he played in, with all the Super Bowls we won, he wears the coaching cap of the Raiders too, and served as an assistant coach when we won the Super Bowl in 1983. I want to say to the great class that sits over here on my left, to come here to this hall and walk through the exhibits, to pay tribute to this great class, to the old-timers whom we honor here today and whose glory we all share. I've said this before, but it brings back a continuing realization that we all owe them a debt, and I and the Raiders will never forget that debt. And now, I've had many years of glory, but today is a glory for me to be able to serve in this role. My wife Carol is here, legendary Raiders like Brown, Upshaw, Otto, friends of Art Shell, Dr. Bob and Marge, and of course his great family, Janice, and the young ones, Artie and Christopher. I'll sign you now. Arthur Shell of Charleston, South Carolina, the National Football League and the Raiders, having done his job, is ready to go home to the Valley of the legendary Giants. I've said this before, that the enshrinement of Art Shell is like a reaffirmation of the values and virtues of what is still the American way of life. The fires that burned brightest in him were the great love and enthusiasm that he had and has for the game of football, for everyone and everything in life. He loved his team, he loved his league, he loved this game. But more important, he played the game fiercely with loyalty and honor to a degree never surpassed and seldom if ever equaled. Ladies and gentlemen, the great number 78, Art Shell.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
tough act to follow. I want to thank all you fans for coming, even you Steeler fans. You boo us, but you still love us. You don't realize it, but you still love us because you respect the way that we play and how hard we play. You know, yesterday I attended a luncheon for all the guys that are inducted into the Hall of Fame. You had to be there to understand the feeling that the rest of us went through. And we were rookies, Terry, Mel, Wood, and myself. We're all rookies, and these are the veterans. And when you go into a rookie camp and the veterans are there, you don't know what to expect. And all of a sudden, these veterans start taking you in, treating you as one of them immediately. And this was what we felt yesterday. I felt a tremendous opening of the heart to welcome us in, to tell us that they felt that we were great football players. Coming from them, that meant so much to me. And I want to thank them for being here and making this weekend a very special weekend for all of us this year. Thank you. Be quiet, Upshaw. It's my turn now. You know, as I look back, I look in the crowd and I see my family. I see a lot of friends. I see friends from Philadelphia, family from Philadelphia, New York, Maryland, Georgia, South Carolina, Massachusetts. Come on, Pittsburgh too, that's right, Pittsburgh too. That is a tremendous support. And that is what and why I'm here today, because of that kind of support. Aunts, nieces, nephews, and of course in-laws from South Carolina. I'm glad you're here. I look back over my career, 3 decades of high school football, college football, and of course, the ultimate professional football. And I see a tremendous, tremendous amount of support. I come from a family of 5 children. Bertha, Kenneth, Benny, Lawrence, and myself being the oldest. I had such tremendous support from them as I was growing up. I was the oldest, so they were always pushing me ahead, and I had to set examples for them. And for their support, I truly love them for it. Thank you. Starting in high school, I had good coaching from my high school coaches. Roosevelt Gillen was my college coach. I'm beginning to lose myself here now. James Fields and Eugene Graves were my high school coaches. And I had good support, good training for them. Then I was lucky enough to receive a football scholarship to Maryland State College. Little school, Princess Anne, Maryland. Schools where the Roger Browns, the Johnny Samples, the Marshall Croppers, the Charlie Stokes, those kinds of people that played in this league, Emerson Boozer played there. And I went, had a coach by the name of Roosevelt Gilliam, who's here today for my induction. And he taught me so much about the game of football, but not just the game of football itself, but life in general. He and Mrs. Gilliam treated both me and the rest of the football team like we were kids. We were their kids. Fathers, they were our father and mothers away from home. And I love them for that. And I cherish my moments at Maryland State College. I really do. Moving into professional football, you know, when you put the silver and black uniform on, you get such a surge of energy, believe me. And a lot of football players around the country that want to wear that silver and black. A lot of them. And I was fortunate enough to wear it. There was never a game that we went into that we didn't think we could win. No matter what circumstances there were, no matter what the time of the game. We had 1 minute to go and we needed a touchdown, we felt we could get it. And the greatness of the Raiders is in, when you talk about the Raiders, everyone knows you talk about the greatness. And the greatness of the Raiders, you can see, and you see the great Gene Upshaw in the Hall of Fame, the great Jim Otto in the Hall of Fame, the great Willie Brown in the Hall of Fame, and the great George Bland in the Hall of Fame, and last year, the great Fred Biletnikoff. That tells you what kind of greatness that the Raider organization has. I have a wonderful wife, Janice, 2 boys, Arthur, 15, Christopher, 13. You don't know what it means for me to be standing here representing them. Not just me, I'm representing us. I represent them, and I represent the Raider organization. This is what this is all about. This is the kind of support I'm talking about that I had from them. There was never a time when I come home from a game, maybe I didn't play well, and I knew it, that they wouldn't say to me, honey, you played a good game. Dad, you played a great game. I knew what they were doing, and it made my nights a little easier to sleep, and I love them for that. Thank you for your support. I was fortunate enough to play in some of the greatest games in the history of the professional game. Played with some of the greatest players that ever played this game, and played against some of the greats, as you see behind me and to my left. That is the ultimate. To play against these people, these great people that made this game what it is today. And I was glad to be one of those guys. I was coached by 3 of the greatest coaches in Raider history. John Rauch was my first coach. He led a team to the Super Bowl. John Madden was my second coach. He led a team to the Super Bowl. Tom Flores was my third coach, and he also led a team to the Super Bowl. So that tells you what kind of coaches that we had coming through the organization, as well as players. The Raider organization can be summed up in 2 words, or 2 nouns, as you would say. Al Davis. He is the organization. The organization begins and it ends with him. His knowledge of the game is second to none. Every coach, every player that ever come to that organization, ever came through, has gained some wealth from that knowledge. And to this day, I'm still gaining. I'm trying to pick his brain as much as I can, because there's a lot there to be had. This man has been an assistant coach in the National Football League. He's been a head coach in the National Football League. He's been a commissioner. And now he's an owner, general partner. What else can anyone do in the game of football, professional football? He's done it all. He's done it all. There's not a time that any ex-player or coach can't pick up the phone and call him. You can call him at any time. Even if you're not a Raider. You Steeler fans, you can call too. He'll still answer you. Some people call him the Darth Vader of football, and he can be. He's a very tough man. Tough man to work for as a player and as a coach. But you know what? There's a soft side to him that not too many people know about unless you're a part of the Raider family. If you're a part of that Raider family, then you understand what this man is all about. I love the man. The man has been good to me and my family. The man has been good to so many Raiders and their families. And I love him for that. And of course, we all know that behind every man, there's a good woman. His lovely wife, Miss Carol Davis, epitomizes the courage and love that the Raiders have for each other. And that lady loves everybody. There's not a bad word that can be said about that lady. Say, she's special to me. You know, she's like mom. And I appreciate it. I want to thank Al for making this occasion possible by having the courage to draft a guy from a small school, the patience to allow him to become a football player in the National Football League, and also the courage to give him a job as an assistant football coach in the National Football League. These are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Loyalty is so important to me as it is to him throughout the whole organization. I will end by offering my congratulations to my fellow inductees. I would also again like to thank Mr. Davis for being my presenter for this occasion. And hopefully, next year, there'll be some more Raiders coming through, but hopefully next year, he will be a presenter as well as an inductee. Thank you.
During the 11 years Willie Wood played for the Green Bay Packers, Bill Bankston served that team first as a defensive assistant and then as the head coach successor to Vince Lombardi. Bill Bankston is here today to present his prized defensive star for enshrinement. And here is Bill Bankston.
Steeler fans and other fans, it's a pleasure to be here to introduce Willie Wood. Willie Wood had a brilliant college career as a quarterback for a fine University of Southern California team. His athletic ability didn't attract the attention of National Football League scouts, and as a result, he was not selected in the draft. The Green Bay Packers recognized his great potential and signed him as a free agent. During the next 12 years, Willie Wood went on to become a premier safety. Among his major career accomplishments, he was selected 8 times for the Pro Bowl. He played in 6 National Football League championship games and was on the winning team 5 of those times. He ranked second in all-time Packer history with 48 interceptions. He won winning the National Football League title in 1962 with 9 thefts. Willie captured the league punt return crown in 1961 with a 16.1 average. Willie was a starting safety for the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl I and II. In the third quarter of Super Bowl I, he intercepted a Len Dawson pass, running it to the 50-yard or 450-yard to the Kansas City 5, paving the way for a 35-10 victory. In college and pro football, Willie has been noticed for his tackling. The only time I can remember Coach Lombardi being critical of our defensive plan was when he asked why Willie, the safety man, had to make so many tackles. Willie becomes the only the sixth free agent to be elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As his former coach, I am proud to present Willie for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it goes without saying that it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here. I'm extremely pleased and I'm extremely excited about a very, very exciting weekend. This has been one remarkable experience for me. Let me just go back and give you a little history for those who may or may not know that when Vince Lombardi stepped down as the head coach with the Green Bay Packers, he passed the baton on to Phil Bankston. When I was asked as to who was going to be my presenter, it was only fitting that Phil be that person. We had to pass the baton on to Phil. He's our senior spokesperson. It's also been told many a times tales of my upbringing, how Willie Wood got involved in sports and athletics. Let me just spend just a moment with you to kind of reiterate some of those points. I grew up in Washington, D.C., but hey, home folks. They're all here, folks. Under the Metropolitan Police Boys Club, I had prepared a speech, but I want to kind of dedicate this time, this award, to those people who helped Willie Wood some 30, 40 years ago. And by my being here, perhaps I can use this to set a standard for the kinds of programs that we have of that type throughout this country. We know that in all of our inner cities, as well as our country overall, there are some troubled times here for our young people. I'd like to take this moment to appeal to some of our city fathers, some of those people who are in charge of programs of that type, who charge of funding of that type, to reconsider some of their funding efforts and put monies into programs like the boys' clubs, like the high school, like the girls' clubs, or what have you, whatever type of programs you might have in your city, to see if we can redirect some of the troubled ways that some of our young people are going. By doing this, there's no guarantee that one of those people might end up a Hall of Famer one day, but we can guarantee that somehow, some way, they can choose to have a full and complete life. I need to commend Mel Blunt for his program and the things that he's doing with young people. He's to be commended for that. I'm very proud of you. As I walk back through my time, we talked about the kinds of things that I was to say here at this occasion, and I just felt that it was just fitting that I take the time to thank all the people who helped Willie Wood. Going back to the days of the Boys Club, there were guys like Bill Butler, there were guys like Jabbo Kenner, there were guys like Herbert Tobias and Julia White, dedicated men who spend endless hours, spend dollars of their own pockets, dedicate themselves to helping people like a Willie Wood. And these weren't fly-by-night people. They weren't guys, who were just in it for the bucks. We're talking about programs that was going on when I was there some 40 years ago, when I was 10, 12, and 13 years old. And ladies and gentlemen, I need to tell you that those people, those men, are still there, still doing the same things. We lost Mr. Jabbo Kenner about 5 years ago. He was sort of the father image to us all, and I need to commend him, to thank him. Jabbo, wherever you are, I sure appreciate your efforts. And moving on to high school, I went to Armstrong High School in Washington, D.C. We have an alumni group for Armstrong here, in case you folks know. There was a coach by the name of Ted McIntyre, a very tough, a very dedicated man. He was the prototype of the Vince Lombardi. Mac was a no-nonsense guy who preached and led the proper way, the proper principles, and the proper values of life. I learned much from Mac, and as he sent me on to college, I sort of felt going into Coalinga Junior College that I was well prepared for whatever endeavor, simply because of those teachings, and those experiences I had while at Armstrong. And I might take the time to say that there are a couple of my high school teammates here, and I won't call the names out because I might forget somebody. But hey guys, stand up, you guys over there, Ted, and Lowell, and Joe Bell, Waverly McKnight, that's Odell Wiley, guys who were very good friends of mine and still are. We're very close. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank my junior college coach, a guy by the name of Sam Vokes, Dr. Jerry Wanis, his assistant coach, who made a very difficult time for a young kid coming out of Washington, D.C., going all the way out to California in the San Joaquin Valley. Believe me, that was a cultural change. I had to do a lot of growing up real quick, and the folks in Coalinga had to get used to me just as quick. There were tough times and there were trying times for us people, but I want you to know that I am still recognized as I travel Coalinga way even today. I understand they have a bus or something for me in the Student Unions Hall, and I'm very pleased by that. And moving on to the University of Southern California, I was recruited very hardly, I guess you might say, by Al Davis, who is now the owner, general manager of the LA Raiders. At that time, he was just a guy who had big ideas, and we were very good friends and we were very close, and I hope to say that we still are. I'd like to take the time to thank Don Clark and the rest of the staff for providing me the opportunity to demonstrate the skills that I had in sports and athletics. We didn't always agree on things at SC. I came to SC as a thrower and they want to run the ball, and that just didn't appeal to me. I always thought I had a creative mind, and sometimes I want to draw those X's and O's on the ground, and they didn't play that at Southern California. Say, if you didn't practice it, then don't call it. But my real education, my real developing, the real growing up, the real Willie Wood happened the day I stepped into the Green Bay Packers camp. I signed as a free agent, and I won't go into that story because that's been told many a times. But when I walked into that camp, there was no doubt in my mind as to who was in charge. The first time I met Lombardi, he scared the hell out of me. And I've been shaking ever since. I feel very blessed because of that experience. I started off in Green Bay with just one thing in mind, that is making the Green Bay Packers football team, and ladies and gentlemen, that's all I had in mind. That was it for me. I never dreamed, I never imagined, I never hallucinated to the extent that I would be standing here at this time addressing such a wonderful, wonderful audience as we celebrate the enshrinement of the Hall of Fame. The only thing I had in mind was just making the Green Bay Packers team. And I've been blessed since then, playing on world championship teams, 5 of them, first 2 Super Bowls, making all pros and things of that nature. That's just great. It was just a blessing for me, and I'm extremely pleased. But I want to take the time to let you know that the best thing ever happened to me was playing with such wonderful people, such great teammates that I had to play with. I mean, not only were they great individuals, they were great athletes. We have some of them here. We have the Willie Davis. We have the Ray Nitschke. Donnie Anderson's out there someplace. Fuzzy Thurston is sitting there. Good friends, great close personal friends. And these people walked out of Green Bay expounding on the teachings of the Vince Lombardi. These guys walked out of Green Bay and stepped into other glories. They've done extremely well in practice of their business, in practice of whatever lifestyle they might have, but they've been extremely successful. We have a lot of guys who made a lot of money. There are a lot of millionaires who play ball with me, but I'm not one of them. But I'm still working at it. But it was indeed my biggest pleasure and my most pleasurable experience. If one is to ask me as to how it is that I got to be a Hall of Famer, I would have to attribute that to those men. Those guys whose performance was of such excellence that I had to thrive. I had to build myself up mentally and physically just to keep par with them, just to make a contribution as they go about their field of excellence. And excellent they were. I'm very pleased to have that opportunity. In closing, I'd like to say that I have my family here, my mother, Amanda, who's the Mother of the Year in my heart. My sister, Gladys, and Dolores, their families. My daughter, LaJuan, and her daughter, my granddaughter, Crystal. They're around here someplace. my oldest son Andre and his family, and Charlotte, and Terrence, my youngest son Willie Jr. I love you all. I also like to take the time to thank all of my friends, all of my very close friends, Gerald Johnson, Odell Wally, Slim Gray. I'd like to thank those guys for the support that they've provided to me for all of these years. About a year and a half ago, date of April the 13th, my dear and lovely wife passed away. She was a staunch supporter of mine. She was the one who always talked about the Hall of Fame, not me. She needs to know that we all love her and we all miss her very deeply. The guys behind us, the old timers behind us, we had a little caucus there yesterday, and they were making bets as to when the Shrineys were going to start crying. And I think they've only won one bet thus far. I think the least likely guys start crying, you know. But I like to say it certainly is indeed a pleasure for me to be part of this group. Many of those guys are very dear friends of mine, very close. Of course, some of them are my teammates. Then there are others who are idols of mine, as I emulate myself as a youngster playing two-hand touch balls or tackle ball or whatever. I emulated many of those guys, and it was an extreme pleasure for me not only to meet them, but now to be a part of them. And I will honor that for the rest of my life, and I'll live up to expectations that you have set forth. Thank you very much, guys. And in closing, I'd like to thank all the people of the Hall of Fame. Tammy Owens, a person whom I know is just doing a job. I know she's just doing a job, but she's done a hell of a job. She's made my family very welcome. She's been our contact here in Canton, and she is to be thanked for that. And at last, certainly not least, the Hall of Fame would just be a Hall of Fame if not for the fans. I don't care if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan or Oakland Raiders fans, the LA Raiders fans, or Green Bay Packer fans, New York Giants, whomever. Football players love you. It's you people who pay those salaries, you know, and those guys making a lot of money, and I know them tickets are going up, so you're showing your appreciation, and I'd certainly like to know, I want you to know that I certainly appreciate it, and you ought to be commended, again, for your rousing support. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
I'm going to ask the audience to remain just for about another minute or two as we introduce the immediate families of these enshrinees and presenters who are here. For enshrinee Terry Bradshaw, wife Charlotte, daughter Erin, and parents Bill and Novus Bradshaw. For presenter Vern Lundquist, wife Nancy. For enshrinee Mel Blunt, children, Tunisia and Chantel. And for presenter, Dan Rooney, wife Pat. Immediate family members for enshrining Art Shell, wife Janice, and children Arthur and Christopher. And for presenter Al Davis, wife Carol. For enshrining Willie Wood, son Willie Jr., son Andre, daughter LaJuan, and mother Amanda. And presenter Phil Bankston, son Brian. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you to stand and join in the singing right now as we close things here. Again, to honor this great country of ours, we want you to stand and join in. Here is Sissy Schaefer to sing God Bless America.
Beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with fun. To the prairies, to the oceans, wide with fun. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America.
Thank you, Sissy. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's enshrinement ceremonies are over. We thank you for attending. We thank you for listening, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.